Hello, my name is Voya and welcome to my deep guide, and in today's video we're going to be checking out between Kobo Libra Color, Boox Go Color 7 and Bigme B751C. Now all of these are Kaleido 3 color e-ink devices, 7-inch diameter of the screen. So in essence they are all offering, or supposed to offer, the same type of viewing pleasure, quality, or whatever it is that you want to call it, because they're using essentially the same panel. But my goal is to kind of explore and see how do they compare to each other using the exact same documents and the exact same set of circumstances, and then basically check what's what. Now, couple of things beforehand. The Kobo Libra Color and the Boox Bigme B751C, these are also note-taking capable devices, while the Boox Go Color 7 is not. I will not be addressing the note-taking capabilities of either of these two devices at all, mainly because I'm focusing on the reader aspect of things and how these devices are as readers, because the styluses or styli are optional extras on both of these guys, right? So you don't have to buy it. You can buy them without the stylus or anything like that at a considerable lower price, especially in the case of the Kobo Libra Color, where the pen costs $70 US. So yeah, something to keep in mind. This is also the point that I'm going to be talking about as well, is the price wise. I'm going to reflect to the price as reader only, right? So the Kobo Libra on its own, just itself, costs $220. Then you have the Bigme B751 without the stylus or without the cover, costs $230. And then you have the Boox Color Go Color 7, which costs $250 with the cover. It doesn't have an option of a stylus, and there's no option without the cover, at least. So those are the ranges that we have here, and the main things I'm going to be focusing on are basically four folds. So the first one is going to be the ergonomics and the ease of use. The second one is going to be, of course, the image quality and the screen quality. And the third one is going to be the battery performance. And the fourth one is going to be the general ease of use and versatility, right? So those are the four categories that we're going to be comparing these three devices in. Before we begin, I do invite you to check out mydeepguide.com/shop, where you can find the newly added My Daily Organizer 2025 and 26. Now I have the full range MDO for 2024, 25, 26, and also you can find the My Deep Guide meeting planner as well, if that is something that you need. What are all these products? Well, My Daily Organizer is there to help you organize all of your personal or professional needs on a yearly, quarterly, monthly, daily, weekly basis. And the My Deep Guide meeting planner is there to help you centralize, simplify, and organize all of your meeting planning needs. Now these are not apps, these are hyperlinked PDF files that are being carefully designed and constructed to basically stay out of the way, but always be intuitive and easy to approach and use. If that sounds like something that's interesting to you, check the links in the description below for the dedicated video playlist, where you can find more information on all of these products, and then you can see this is for me or not. Either way, purchasing of either or any of these products directly helps support the independence of My Deep Guide. So thank you very much. Now, without further ado, let's check these guys out. And here are the contenders. In the far right corner we have the Kobo Libra Color white version. In the middle we have the Boox Go Color 7, and on the far left corner we have the Bigme B751C. The first category is going to be the design, build quality, and ergonomics, and we're going to start with the Kobo Libra Color. You can clearly see that out of all of these devices here, it has the biggest footprint. So it is the tallest, it is the widest, and it is the thickest. It is not the heaviest. The heaviest one is the Bigme 7. I'm just gonna call it Bigme. It's too long of a name. It really is. So the Bigme device out of all of these ones is the heaviest ones, but this one is quite a lot more bulky, especially when you look at this side here. That being said, yes, it does feel a little bit more old-fashioned and it feels like this, but there's nothing really wrong with this design. This design actually works. My personal preference is the older Libra H2O design, where you had a nice kind of angled surface. I'm not a terrible fan of this kind of edge going here, even though it's supposed to be ergonomic. The way I hold it, it's always this edge here, which is fairly kind of sharper angle. It's not really as comfortable as some other designs that Kobo has. So I'm not a huge fan of the Libra 2 and the iteration, and Libra Color is using that same type of design. Overall, the build quality is really, really good, despite it being plastic, but it's very robust and very sturdy. And the buttons themselves, they are nicely spaced, easily definable by just a press. They are nicely reachable from any kind of, either this way, or this way. It all works. And also they have a nice, good, defined clickiness to it. Then we go on to the Boox Go Color 7, and this is basically the same design as the Boox page, and there's very little to fault for design and build quality of this device. It is really well designed, really well built, and the addition of this parchment-like back is quite a significant one, actually, because it gives you this constant feedback, which is of something nice. And when you couple it with the build quality that is really sturdy, it just feels tight, compact, really well balanced, very thin device. Is the thinnest of all here. These two are very, very similar in weight, but I think that this feels a tiny smidge lighter, not really sure, but definitely quite a bit lighter than the Bigme device. So overall, the ergonomics, the build quality, and the design is really, really beautiful on the Boox Go Color 7. The only negative that I can give it is basically that there's no spacing between the buttons here, and maybe they didn't even have to use spacing. Maybe just if you're using the same kind of manufacturing process, I get it, cutting costs, but maybe they could have just added buttons that have like a small indentation towards the middle, just to offer a little bit more of a tactile differentiation feel between these two buttons. But other than that, everything else about this device is something that I really, really love, and it, no matter how you end up using it, it just feels right all the time. Then we get to the Bigme, which is a lovely, lovely design. Definitely very kind of high-class design, and all of these three, it feels and it looks like most luxurious and most kind of high-classy kind of thing. Mainly because it does have this all-metal edge around the side. It is very nicely built. We do have that separation between the buttons, which is nice, and out of all of these three, the button presses and the tactile feel and the sound, the clickiness of the buttons, for me personally, is the most satisfactory one. The buttons on the Go Color are good, but they're least satisfactory of all of these three. So for me, the buttons would be the best on Bigme, then on the Kobo, and then on the Boox. They work perfectly fine on all of them. It's just a personal sense of satisfaction and preference. Some people will not like the clickiness of the buttons. I personally like it. The overall design is quite nice, so the edges are nicely round and the ergonomics are quite good. The buttons are very nicely spaced, so no matter how you actually handle the device, the buttons are easily reachable, and it's very comfortable to use in any of these orientations. The only negative points that I do have about the Bigme when compared to either of these two is that it definitely is heavier than these devices, and also for a reader that is heavier and it has a metal edge. I don't know about you guys, but I do read in the bed, and sometimes you start falling asleep and then the device
can start falling or maybe fall onto you or onto your head. And in those instances, that kind of combination is maybe not the best one to kind of have. And also, there's the issue of the build quality, which is on none of these devices can you find anything that creaks, cracks, or anything like that. But on the Bigme, the back panel is kind of not fitting perfectly. At least on this unit, it doesn't fit really perfectly, and that gives it a tiny, not a lot, but a tiny kind of lower sense of build quality than I do get from either of these two. And the winner there for me is Boox Go Color 7. Libra 2 Color is nicely built and nicely designed, but it is too chunky and a little bit too old-fashioned, and especially the white version does not coincide well with the Kaleido 3 screens. The Bigme B751C is really nicely designed, like really beautiful, but it is a little bit on the heavier side of things, and also the full metal edge for an e-reader like this. You're gonna read it quite often lying in bed and doing this, and I don't know about you, but I really don't want to have a metal edge and weight as a combination device that can actually fall on my head while I'm, you know, going and drowsing into sleep. The Boox Go Color 7 for me is the most elegant one, the most ergonomic one, and the most satisfying one to use. And whenever I actually reached to it, there was a certain sense of like, ooh, this feels good, this feels nice. So everything combined, designed, ergonomics, and build quality, Boox Go Color 7, it would be the choice for me.
When we go to the image quality comparisons between all of these three, I've loaded up the exact same document, exact same page, and I've tried to match them as closely as I possibly could with custom image quality settings as well, to try and match them so that they look alike as best as I possibly could. All three are capable of delivering excellent image quality results. No question about it. They absolutely can. However, the amount of effort and knowledge that you actually need in order to achieve this quality is different from device to device. In this relation, I think that the Boox Go Color 7 has the most negative aspects, mainly because the default settings in an eReader are not favorable to the image quality results. And the second aspect is that the ghosting performance out of all of these three in third-party apps, meaning in this case in Kobo Reader app, is basically the worst on the Go Color 7 for one very simple omission, software omission on their side, which is there is no way to control the full refresh method and to switch it to depth method, which will ensure that you always have completely ghost-free refresh. In third-party apps, you can't do that on the Go Color 7, even though you can do it in the eReader. So that's how I know that the device is absolutely capable of delivering completely ghost-free experience like these two are, but software limitations and omission in this case prevents it currently to be able to do that in third-party apps. And that automatically gives it a big negative point. And out of the box settings with refresh rates and things like that will give you the worst ghosting and worst image quality out of all of these three. So that is why I think as image quality goes, it's an unfortunate thing, because the device is absolutely capable of giving you, as you can see, really good image quality on par with the others, but it does require a lot of knowledge and a lot of effort in order to get there. Then we have the Bigme, which by default has really good e-ink center settings, and you don't really have to do much. You just have to go to the e-ink center and choose either magazine or comic, depending on what you like. And the settings themselves are made in such a way that you will get ghosting free experience, and you will get a really nicely balanced type of image quality. Granted, the comic preset is too aggressive for my taste, so the magazine preset actually works really well, but if they don't work for you, then you can go into the custom one and customize it to your liking. But the most important thing is that the refresh rate, or the ghosting refresh method, is such that it gives you completely ghost free experience here as well.
And then we get to the Kobo Libra Color, which has the least amount of settings, but it doesn't need them at all, because the calibration and the settings of the image and the image quality or the screen is done in such a way that it gives you ghosting-free experience when going through pages. But more importantly than anything else is that the color balance, the balance of vividness, the balance of contrast, the balance of sharpness, everything is done to such a nice degree that despite me really trying to customize and get there as much as I could, so that's what I tried with all of these devices, to kind of get it as close as I can to the Kobo Libra 2, but I wasn't able to get the fine nuances. So for example, if you look at this tiny section here, look how beautiful the transitions are between the red, burgundy, orange, and kind of yellowish there, while on these two we start losing the details, and on Bigme we lose quite a bit of details. On Boox it's kind of segmented and not that nice. It just feels more pastel-like and more organic and way more pleasant on the Kobo Libra Color. I don't know exactly what did they do or how did they do it. The Kobo Libra Color, definitely for my taste, has the best image quality for sure. And of course, you get that out of the box. You don't need to set up anything. It just is there and it works right. In the image color category, this one wins both on the image quality itself, the ease of use for the desired image quality, and also the front light as well. Out of the three devices, this one hands down has the absolute best and most uniform front light. So for those reasons, Libra Color would be the image quality winner and the screen quality winner for me. Well, battery category is not subjective, so as the numbers said, the Boox Go Color 7 had the best battery performance, therefore it's the winner. And finally, the versatility of use. Well, Kobo Libra Color is kind of out of competition when you combine it to both Bigme and Boox, simply because while it does have some capabilities and can have some versatility, it can't really hold a candle to either of these two devices. So that means that between these two, for me, absolutely it would have to be the Boox Go Color 7, simply because it just works, right? So the general instability and some OS strangeness, overall usability of everything on a Bigme device, you can check my in-depth review of this device and then you can see some of the reasons and some of the examples. While on the paper it should be the same as the Boox Go Color 7, but in reality it just isn't. That is not the case with the Boox Go Color 7, and furthermore, the Go Color 7 comes with the OS version 3.5.3, I believe, which introduced UI optimizations and UX optimizations, which are starting to be actually good and are definitely a step in the right direction. So the end result is that the Go Color 7, while being an extremely capable and powerful e-reader to begin with, it also is an extremely capable and powerful Android tablet, and the performance of it is seamless. It never stutters or anything like that. Everything is done quickly, reliably, and it actually constantly invites you to comfortably and confidently use it for tasks that are more complex or bigger or wider than the simple tasks that you would expect from a dedicated e-reader such as the Kobo Libra Color, for example. So for those reasons, Boox Go Color 7 would be the winner for me in this category as well. So if we tally up the scores, well, Boox Go Color 7 wins 3 out of 4 categories, but the one that it actually loses to both devices is the image quality category. And that's something that you absolutely have to take into consideration, especially because it's also the priciest one, not by a lot. So 220 Kobo Libra, 230 Bigme B751C, 250 Boox Go Color 7. So they're there, but this is the most expensive one. Why did it perform the worst? Let's just refresh. Well, because of the software issues. If you do actually compare the Boox Go Color 7 in the eReader only with specific settings that you get to customize,
then you get to have it on an equal leg with all of these devices, and it performs exactly the same, and it performs really, really well. With Kobo Libra, of course, edging out because it has the configuration is just a smidge better than what I was able to achieve with any kind of customizations on either of these two devices, but they get to be really, really close as far as image quality and especially with ghosting performance. However, there are two main issues with the Go Color 7. And as I've discussed, just to summarize, the default settings in eReader, they are not favorable to what this device is actually capable of. And the second one is that in the regular e-ink center, we do not have the option of having depth full refresh mode, which introduces ghosting when there should be none, right? So even if you set everything up so that there's no ghosting whatsoever, you still are forced to have ghosting in third-party apps. And currently, you can only have 0 ghosting on the Boox Go Color 7 in eReader, because that's the only place where you can set the full refresh to depth mode, not normal mode. And the second reason is the front light quality and uniformity is the least good out of all of these 3 devices here. Those are the reasons why Go Color 7 ranked last in the image quality category. And it just comes down to you personally to kind of determine, this is important for me, this is not important for me, or how much importance do I give on all of these issues. For me personally, the front light thing is important. Why? Because the front light has to be used in conjunction with the Kaleido tree panel quite often. But it is not that bad to actually push me away from the device at all. I only noticed those issues when I was pushing it to the maximum and directly comparing it in extreme results and testing environment basically with other devices. Then the weaknesses of the front light were exposed, but in normal use case scenarios, this is not something that would actually bother me. The ghosting thing does bother me, but I can live with the combination of customizing that the long press of the button is a full refresh and basically using my custom settings for the refresh mode to get the device to actually perform as close to as good as I want it to in Kobo or Kindle, for example, because in eReader it performs perfectly, basically the way I want it to. So for me personally, those are not good enough reasons to sway me away from it, but objectively speaking, that's why it ranks that last, and you have to be the one who decides how important these reasons are for you and whether or not then the Boox Go Color 7 is, because of those results and those questions, can this be a winner for you overall or not? That's the tricky part here, because I can't really give equal importance on design and ergonomics to the image quality or battery life to image quality, but you can't really deny any of those as well. You know, they are all quite important in their own right. I'm sorry that it couldn't have been a more simple conclusion. I wish that it could have been, but it's not a very simple situation because everything is a little bit complex. So for me, Bigme, despite being really beautifully designed and having a really good, excellent image quality, this one is out of the running for me, and I would never consider buying it simply because of everything else that's associated with that device. Libra Color is a really tempting one for me because my library is in the Kobo environment, so as far as the reader goes, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with the limitations and everything like that, but I'm not really a fan of the bulkiness of the design here and the indented frame, and especially the white version. I would get a black one for myself, so that's something that I'm like, okay. And basically, whenever I was going back to the Boox Go Color 7, it just felt right. It felt right in every respect, and I enjoyed using it and testing it. So for me, out of all of these 3, if I was going for a color eReader 7-inch, I would personally choose the Boox Go Color 7, despite the image quality results that I've already talked about. However, I think that the most important question is, would I buy, for me, the Go Color 7 or Page? And actually, I personally, for my own needs, would always go for Page rather than the Go Color 7 because of the inherent negatives that are always going to be associated with Kaleido technology, and in this case Kaleido tree panels. The color is definitely a nice thing to have. And what are the not nice things that I actually have to pay for this one nice thing? Where they are increased battery consumption because I need to use more front light because of the second not nice thing, inherent darkness of the Kaleido's tree screen, and the third not nice thing is the lack of contrast and lack of clarity of the vision, because again, all of these things because of the Kaleido tree screen. And you could also add the fourth one, let's do it like this, the fourth one, which would be the lottery of what kind of panel are you going to get, and if you're going to get missing or dead pixels that are going to bother you or not. So for me and my limited math skills, these are four very important not nice things for one nice thing that's not a vitally important one, right? So if color is vitally important for you, then that's a no-brainer. Then you gotta get a color one. But if you don't have to get the color version and you would just like to have it, then you have to think about this balance. Is that one nice thing worth these four very objective, not nice things? For those reasons, out of all of these three, I wouldn't get any of these three because they are color Kaleido tree panels there. And I would actually go for the Boox page. Actually, I wouldn't go for anything because I have my Kobo Sage and I'm perfectly happy with it. But if I was going for something, I would go for Boox page. All right, hopefully all of this rambling and yabbering about made some sense. I really do hope, because I've tried to navigate this kind of complex and walk like the Egyptian kind of thing to bring some sort of sense to you guys so that you can understand and maybe weigh out the pros and cons, because there's no perfect device here. They are all, a jumble of things. And that's what I attempted to do here. If I managed, I am happy, and I hope that you found the video informative, interesting, and or useful. If you did, please like and subscribe and ding the notification bell in the description below to get notified when new videos come out on my deep guide. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video. Bye.